Lazy musicians. I know off this title alone, it's going to make a lot of musicians mad, pissed off, angry. But of course, out of love, y'all know me, I tell the truth, no matter how it make you feel. And I'm talking about, and what you want to so-call the gospel field, gospel musicians, all worldly, all the same. Somebody catch that later. In this life, you have people who call themselves musicians that truly put in the work, put in the practice, put in the blood, sweat, and tears. And some of them are very humble and some of them are not. And then you have what I like to call the getting by musician. This is where I'm about to make a lot of them mad at, who do not take their craft that serious, but they always want to gig. They always want to jump on everything, but they don't want to learn. They don't want to learn. They don't want to put in that practice. And like I always tell people, especially when I'm talking to musicians, there is a difference between rehearsing and practicing. Practicing is on your own time. Rehearsing is when you come together and put it together. Now, me, brought up old school, I told y'all. See, when I was coming up and I played in church, before all this technology got to where it is now, you didn't have no choice but to go home and learn your music. And to y'all that's familiar with reel-to-reels, record players, and tape decks, especially when tape decks came out, I give you an example. At my home church, I learned how to play a lot of the keyboard through a great friend of mine, Brother Greg Clark, who's a guitar player, but I also know the keyboard back and forth. Keyboard and guitar is very similar. Y'all know that. We would learn songs at home, and we would call each other. See, back then, when you had tape decks, everybody tape deck didn't spin at the same speed. So I might have learned the song if it was in the original key of A flat, but Greg may call me and say, "Hey man, mine, I got it in B flat," or it's a half step off or a whole step off, or maybe two whole steps off, depending on how fast or slow the tape deck was spinning, which means you had to learn all your keys. See, back then you didn't see a lot of transpose buttons like you see now. That's what I'm saying is I'm not knocking what people do. I'm just speaking facts. You got a lot of musicians who get paid and they don't do nothing. They don't do nothing but transpose. And then you got the ones that know how to play in every key. See, to me, transposing the keyboard is cheating yourself in so many ways because you're missing out on the beauty in every key. Same thing you can do in A, you can do in B, you can do in C, you can do in E, D, E, don't matter what the key is. Once you learn a number system and you learn, your progressions and everything, your root positions, third position, all the theory that come with it, it becomes more and more understandable. But it's a lot of people that's just so lazy, they don't want to learn that way, or I don't want to, or you got so many people want you to teach them just, hey man, show me how to hit it. And they learn just enough to get by. I'm going to tell you something about playing the piano, man. It ain't something you can just do 1 or 2 days out the week, then put it down 2 or 3 weeks, and then think you're going to pick it back up and leave off and continue to be great, 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 great. I tell people all the time, practice don't make me perfect, but it make me better. Do I still have flaws sometimes when I'm playing? Of course. Because playing and singing, a lot of times it gets the best of you. You don't try to mess up, but sometimes you may just mess up, not on purpose, not intentionally. But to be good and great at what you're doing, man, you got to practice. And this goes further than just talking about music. But there are so many people that just lazy, period, but they learned enough just to get by. See, I didn't want to be no just getting by musician. I didn't want to be that type of musician. And Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, and some of y'all gonna be mad at this video because y'all know I'm telling the truth. I don't care whether you're talking about on the drums, the piano, the organ, guitar, saxophone, it don't matter. You have to put in your time of practicing. When you practice and practice and practice, man, it make the job so much easier when you come together, because there is so much time wasted when you wasting time on other people who do not practice. So your rehearsal comes a practice for everybody, because the few that don't want to do the job of going home to practice, now the rehearsal done turned into a practice. Oh, I done made about 10 people mad with that. My years and years of playing and being an MD and being over choirs and praise teams, they'll tell you, I never went to church to practice. What kind of minister of music, what kind of musician would I be if I show up unprepared and then I'm sitting there trying to teach you choir harmony, and I got to try to teach the musicians their part of learning the song, and just say if I didn't come in there knowing the part, that's going to be a messed up rehearsal, because I didn't do my practice. And it's not fair to the other musicians that you play with when you got that weakest link who will not practice. They don't want to practice, but they always want to rehearse. We. They don't want to practice, but they always want to rehearse because they know their gig is coming up off day at church, vice versa, whichever, you know. They know that, oh man, here come that musical, you know, but hey man, I want to be a part of it, but you ain't learned nothing. Are you helping or are you handicapping? Lazy musicians. But shout out to the real musicians who put in that work, the endless hours. The level I got on, the level I'm on now, I would have never got on the level I'm on now by not practicing. And that's why I love talking about the 2 C's: commitment, consistency. Like I keep saying, if you don't commit, you ain't gonna start. If you don't stay consistent, you won't never finish. And you got a lot of committed musicians who never stay consistent. Then you got musicians who really never committed, but they want to be consistent, but they don't know how because they ain't committed and put in the practice. And it wears other musicians out. See, nowadays, you know what a lot of musicians do? For the ones that practice, we call each other. A lot of times now, a lot of musicians don't even rehearse together. Do you think I'm lying? If you understand what I'm talking about, give me a thumbs up if you're a musician, where you can call other musicians, hey man, we got an engagement, or, you know, we're gonna do this family reunion or whatever it is, and you send out a song list. See, those are the type of musicians I love, that's humble, and they already know their part. You come in the room, if you do rehearse, everybody know their part. Everybody know their part. But even if you don't rehearse, you show up at the gig, everybody's so cold on the instrument, they know what to do. It just comes out like you had rehearsed. But those musicians are hard to find nowadays. It's hard to find humble musicians who are humble and will treat each other with respect, not trying to outdo each other and show out and overplay one another. That's hard to find nowadays because it's so many musicians that's at competition with each other. Whether you're talking about in church or in the world, it's a competition thing now. The anointing is not on a lot of musicians. I didn't say all, but it's not on a lot of musicians. Performing is. Showing out is. That performing spirit is. And that's why I do these type of videos. And this is a different type of video. This is for musicians. But like I said, you can apply this to your life, whatever you do. If you don't practice at doing it, how do you expect to get better? So once again, shout out to the real musicians out there who know what I'm talking about, who grew up without, all the technology, man. See, let me tell you something. I started out on a Fender Rhodes. Some of y'all younger musicians don't know what a Fender Rhodes is. The 88, I always called it the Ray Charles. My old man kept the Fender Rhodes. The 88. To this day, that's one of my most favorite keyboards, hard keys. 88, heavy weighted. I learned on heavyweight keys, which make your fingers faster. Blisters, I'm talking about hard to push them chords down at first. You got lightweight keys, some may say middleweight key, but then you got these heavyweight keys, man. When you learn on a B3 organ or regular piano and a Fender Rhodes like me, you know what I'm talking about. There wasn't no transpose button. Now you got organs with transpose button on it. Now you got pianos that will play themselves by you just pushing the button. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This is what technology has handicapped a lot of musicians. I don't want no piano that'll play itself. Yeah, it look pretty, it sound good, but if I had my choice, give me a regular baby grand or give me a 9-foot. Give me a B3 organ or a C3 organ or an A3 organ. Give me an old Ray Charles Fender Rhodes. Give me an old Welliston. See, now the technology is way advanced. And I'm not saying this to put nobody down, man. We have to realize a lot of us was brought up the same with learning back in the old way of learning. But now, man, you just push one key down and that's your production. We had to play. And I would never get away from having to play. I love liveness. I love live music. And it's just something about live music, man, versus playing a CD, playing tracks, man. I love tracks too, man. I produce, but ain't nothing to me more better than me playing live. Ain't nothing like me playing a real piano. A real piano. These keyboards are nice, man, but what would you do if there was no transpose button? And if you grew up like me, man, when that transpose stuff started coming out, then you start doing, whether you at church or whatever, and you coming up behind somebody using their keyboard, and you don't look down on their screen to check to see if it's set on the right mode, and you automatically start playing and play that song, you on +3, +6, -1, -2, and people don't start singing, you embarrassed. I've been there. And people looking at you, well, what you doing, JT? Man, I did not know the keyboard was in transpose. See, I had a stroke in 2016. I've been playing with one hand since 2016, and I still don't transpose. Kill the transpose button. You don't need it. You really don't need it. If you think about it, this your transpose right here. Because up here, when you know the theory, when you know the number system, you transpose it in your mind. But that comes with practice, taking time out, and not just cheating your way through. So a lot of musicians hate when I say that it's cheating. They don't like when I say that, but really it is. Because it's making you sound colder than what you are, and you really can't do what you're doing in that key because you're not in that key. The arrow got you in that key. You just good in that key that you know how to do all the stuff with. Now your runs and everything is sounding tight because you in transpose. I leave on that. Y'all have a blessed day.